dollars to 120. So you would think that all that growth would bring prosperity, but I don't know. A lot of empty promises, I think.
Well, Larry, I think that you've got a point with regard to growth being the right growth, and I also had a little bit of a visceral reaction to the Legends example, because as we know, the Legends was done with it was a public-private partnership. There was a significant amount of taxpayer dollars put into that project, particularly with regard to infrastructure and a TIF district that was created for it. And then we end up with a developer going out of business, not out of business, but filing bankruptcy, and the Legends property having to be auctioned off. They still don't know how they're going to retire that debt as of right now. And that obviously, in lieu of a private developer being able to retire the debt, it automatically reverts back to the taxpayer to retire that debt. So
well, I would counter with TIF districts do not have to be funded by bonds. We have one here for a pay-as-you-go. They get what they earn. So I don't want you to get too hung up on that it went auctioned or whatever, because it doesn't have to be developed that way. That particular project may have been developed that way, but it doesn't have to be.
And there's ways to creatively finance these, but I'll be honest. I would rather the pay-go model is a better model, because at least we know that the developer's on the hook for any cost discrepancies, because we will receive what they get, and they are basically liable for the debt. But I'd be very cautious to pursue a growth initiative that has upfront taxpayer money involved with it, unless we know beyond a shadow of a doubt through cost-benefit analysis, the return on investment, that we're going to get a return on it.
And that's back to the economic development studies.
Absolutely, and I think we have to have that in mind from day one, from initiative one. Any development that comes into the city must pay for itself, and I'm very much against just placing taxpayer money out there on a wing and a prayer and thinking, well, we're gonna be venture capitalists here, and do our own thing, because at the end of the day, I think governments have shown from the federal level on down that we're very bad venture capitalists.
Well, anybody have other questions or comments on the 2014?
I do. I actually have a couple. Just a couple of things. On the economic development tech studies, is that one of the concerns I have is not just the upfront analysis, which I think is definitely needed, but it's more that ongoing. So when we have a commitment, for instance, we'll use Nimmer Properties, knowing that we're still discussing them, and they say we're going to employ 400 to 500 people, average salary at $30,000. I'm more interested in that ongoing, how do we hold them accountable?
So your payment in lieu of tax agreement.
Right.
You have clawback provisions in your payment in lieu of tax agreement.
And so does this help facilitate, I mean, is the point of this to help facilitate some of that ongoing? Okay.
Because that would identify the weak spots and weaker spots that you would want to make sure you had a clawback provision for.
Okay. Secondly, well, I'll get to Meredith in a minute, but school district, so water and sewer increases. I guess I have two things on this. At least I've been told in the past that there are large water usage, specifically the school district, that are not being billed according to what would be the recommended rate. Is that true? So
they have a special school rate, so it's in the city code.
I think you're talking about the way it's structured in terms of tiering
and that's different. Okay.
Rate structure.
Large water in general, not
just the school district.
Okay.
I'm saying there are big ones. I'm using them as
rate
an
structure.
example.
Right. So in
Yeah.
other words, the higher it goes, it starts going down instead of the other way around.
Exactly.
Right.
So one of the opportunities that we have, and I'm saying this because the school district at this point in time would be the most significantly impacted based on what we have in place today. But it's my thought that that is analysis I think that we should look at and understand the impact of changing that
Sure.
before we say we're going to increase all rates by 12%.
Okay.
We can do that, but I would caution that that was just to fund the
I
project and maintain your fund balance at 12%.
I understand. The other part of that is, do we have any opportunities, and we haven't seen the electric board budget yet, but are there opportunities for any sort of shared funds between the three utilities?
Per the Electric Utility Board ordinance, the governing body of this unit sets the franchise transfer.
So there is
Yes.
another
So the answer is
opportunity
yes.
for
Yes.
us to look at
Yes?
a potential, and like I said, I don't understand, I don't know what their reserves are going to be or what they are proposing, but that is an opportunity as well.
That is always an opportunity. Kansas statute allows for that as well, and so does your ordinance.
Okay? The last thing that I have, and this is my opinion, I believe that a 1% merit is low.
Okay?
I think that we should look at increasing that merit potential for people. I think that we're losing some good employees, and we can argue whether that's, you know, natural growth or what have you, and whether money's the absolute deterrent, but I just think that we have some great employees in various aspects of the city, and that we should start focusing on retaining them, and I think merit is a part of being able to do that.
Agreed. What would you like it to be? Okay? We can reassess that.
I mean, I would look for you guys for your opinion.
Sure.
I mean,
We can
you
do it.
know
We can
what,
reassess that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's 5%, I don't know what the right answer is.
Okay.
But I firmly believe that that is,
So you're asking if you can do it? I mean, is there capacity? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking? Yes.
yes.
Yes? Sure.
I don't know what anybody else thinks about that.
Well, you know, yeah, we've had various discussions about merit and its merits, but I think that at the end of the day, the way you retain and you attract good, solid, hardworking employees is through a pay for performance program, and a true pay for performance program would be on an individual basis. Right now, we don't have that kind of flexibility within our salary statute, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that there is a real concern on my part to see whether or not we could reevaluate the salary ordinance and, to be honest with you, figure out whether or not it's even needed. I think it's hamstringing our departments. I think it's putting some arbitrary constraint on certain classifications of job descriptions. And I think that if people do a good job by empirical measurement, not necessarily subjective analysis, but empirical measurement, and they are able to prove their worth to an organization in a real, you know, objective way, I think they need to be compensated for it. And that means if some people are not doing that, then they shouldn't necessarily qualify for the same level of compensation increase on a percentage basis. I am against bonuses. I think that any kind of compensation schedule or plan should be tied to a rate, but I think that rate needs to be set by market variables and determinations, and not necessarily by an ordinance. I think that's just my own personal opinion. I think that we can have a good, solid debate on that. But I think that until we are able to have more of a pay-for-performance type of setting for our compensation, we're going to continue to lose good people. We have to be realistic. I don't think we can say that we can compete with the Lenexas and the Overland Parks and the Missions and the Leewoods, because, to be honest with you, we don't have their revenue base. And until we have their revenue base, we're going to have to come up with creative ways to be able to pay our people for performance and do it so we don't lose them. And also, we need to start thinking about building a bench, having not necessarily an apprenticeship program, but some sort of a succession plan and a career pathing type of
Mentoring.
mentoring